Allahu, 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 Allah, Allahu, Allahu, Allahu.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. So we started mentioning the saraya, the expeditions, the missions which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam he sent out, and some of them which he personally went out with his companions. And we saw how most of those who went out, they were the muhajirun from Mecca. And these were mainly targeting the caravans, the trade caravans of the Quraysh, so that they can hit the Quraysh an economic hit. Because at the end of the day, that wealth belonged to them. It is the wealth which they left back in Mecca. And that wealth was the wealth the Quraysh are going to use to fight the Muslims. So we talked about the mission of Khar. The first one was Sayful Bahr, if you remember, the one to Rabi'ah. And then the first one which the Prophet ﷺ himself, he went out, was Al-Abwa or Waddan. And then the Buwat mission, and then we talked about Safwan, and lastly Dhul Ushayra. The next one is the mission to Nakhla. If you have your book, this is page number 245. The mission to An-Nakhla. An-Nakhla is a place close to Mecca, between Mecca and Ta'if. So the Prophet ﷺ in this mission, which was during Rajab of the second year of Hijrah now, remember we're in the second year. He ﷺ, he dispatched the companion Abdullah ibn Jahsh al-Asadi radiallahu anhu with 12 men under him. And those 12 men, again, they were all from the Muhajirun. They were all from the people who migrated from Mecca. But they were not told about their mission. The Prophet ﷺ, he gave him a letter. And he said, after you have gone such and such distance, then open this letter and look what is in it, and you'll find my orders in there. So Abdullah bin Jahsh, he was set out. After the traveling of 2 days, he opened the letter, and it said, once you open this letter, then you should go to Nakhla. Nakhla again is very close to Mecca. Remember, Mecca is the city of the enemies at this time still. You should go to Mecca, to Nakhla, which is between Mecca and Ta'if, and just do a, we can say, spying or reconnaissance mission. Just go there and look at what the Quraysh are doing, and then come back and report to me. So this mission was not sent out to fight or to intercept a caravan or anything like that. They were just sent for gathering information. Abdullah bin Jahsh, after reading that, so he informed his friends who were under him, the 12 of them. And including in that 12-member group was Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas and Utbah bin Ghazwan radiallahu anhuma. But while they were traveling, they lost one of their camels, Sa'ad and Utbah. So they went to look after their camel, and the 10 of them, they continued to An-Nakhla. While they were there at An-Nakhla, they saw a trade caravan of the Quraysh passing through, and it had a lot of wealth and foodstuffs and other commodities. And some notable mushrikun, you know, some of the prominent ones were leading this caravan, like Amr al-Hadrami and Uthman ibn Abdullah ibn al-Mughira and Nawfal ibn Abdullah ibn al-Mughira. When the Muslims, they saw this, they had consultations between themselves. Some of them said, we should attack them. These are some of the leaders of kufr. And this is wealth we can take. And some of them, they say, no, the Prophet ﷺ only sent her to do what? To gather information. And then those who said we should go and attack them, they said, oh, remember, this is the month of Rajab. This is the month of Rajab. It was actually the end of the month of Rajab. And you know that Rajab is one of the Ashhurul Hurum, one of the sacred months. We talked about this in the beginning. Before Islam and when Islam came, it affirmed the concept of Ashhurul Hurum, that there are 4 months which are sacred. The Arabs before Islam, they used to view them to be sacred also. So there was no fighting in these 4 months. And these 4 months are what? Muharram, Rajab, Dhul Qa'dah, and Dhul Hijjah. Muharram, Rajab, Dhul Qa'dah, and Dhul Hijjah. And the 3 of them follow each other. Dhul Qa'dah, the second last month, Dhul Hijjah, the last month, and then Muharram. Those 3 months, they follow each other. In these 3 months, even the Arabs before Islam, everybody knew they are Ashhurul Hurum. You can't fight. So these Sahaba who decided to attack that caravan, they said we're in the end of Rajab. If we wait 2 days, it was 2 or 3 days to the end of Rajab, we'd lose this caravan. So what can we do? They say, you know what, we're just going to attack them. So they did attack them. And the leader of that caravan, Amr al-Hadrami, who was one of the leaders of the kuffar, he was killed. And Uthman ibn Abdullah al-Mughira, he was taken as a captive. And the other person called Al-Hakam, he was taken as a captive also. And of course they took the wealth which was in that caravan as war spoils. Abdullah ibn Jahsh and his friends, and then they came back to the Prophet ﷺ in Medina. When they came to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ, he disapproved of their act. He said to them, I did not command you to go and fight anyone. Neither did I command you. And then when they came back, they put 1/5 of what they collected. They said, this is for the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ said, I don't want anything of this. And these 2 captives, you have to set them free. I did not command you to do any of this. Look, even though we talked about these are the enemies of Islam, this is a hostile time, they are at war with them, but yet the importance of what? Submitting to the command of Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You are not told to fight, don't fight. You are not told to take any property, don't take any property. You are not told to take any prisoners, don't take any prisoners. So the Prophet ﷺ disapproved of the act. And in fact, he said, you have to let them free. And this wealth, we're going to send it back to them, the Quraysh of Makkah, even though they're our enemies. And the 2 people you killed, we are going to pay the blood money. Allahu Akbar. That is the adl, justice of Islam. Even with those who are enemies of Islam. Islam came with perfect justice for everyone. Muslim and Muslim, enemy not enemy. Now based on that, of course, with the Quraysh, they had of this, they took it as a golden opportunity. And they started to talk, this is a propaganda war now. They said, look at Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His companions and him, they attacked us in the Ashhurul Hurum. All of us know that you can't fight in Ashhurul Hurum, sacred month. And he claims he came with this beautiful religion. Look what he does. So they tried to use that against the Muslims and Islam. And that is what the Prophet ﷺ was avoiding. Remember, the war is not just the war of the sword, the ideological war, the propaganda wars they call it. Is very important because Islam is new. Islam is new. So if people now, the Arabs, who are still neutral, they don't know should we become Muslim or not. When they hear, oh, actually these people of this new religion, they even fight in the sacred months. What do they say? Oh, these people don't have discipline. Everybody knows you can't fight in the sacred month. Let alone the fact they claim these are sacred months for them also. As it will be revealed after in Surah At-Tawbah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ عِدَّةَ الشُّهُورِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ 12 شهرا في كتاب الله وما خلق السماوات والأرض منها أربعة حرم. Surely the number of months in the sight of Allah are 12 months, and 4 of them are sacred months. فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا فِيهِنَّ أَنفُسَكُمْ. So don't oppress yourselves in them. So the Prophet ﷺ said to them, return the slaves, the captives, give back the wealth, and those who killed the 2 people will pay their blood money. But the Quraysh kept talking, obviously. Look, they fought us in Ashhur al-Hurum. When they continued to do that, now Abdullah bin Jahsh and his friends were with him. They became very depressed because they knew now they did something wrong. Not only did they do something wrong, they did something now which is used against all of the Muslims. And that is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He revealed the verses in Surah Al-Baqarah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, verse number 217 and 218, Al-Baqarah, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الشَّهْرِ الْحَرَامِ قِتَالٍ فِيهِ. They ask you about fighting in the sacred months. Muharram, Rajab, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah. قُلْ, reply to them saying, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, قِتَالٌ فِيهِ كَبِيرٌ. It is true, fighting in them is a major sin. You're not supposed to fight. But وَصَدٌّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, but blocking people from the religion of Allah. وَكُفْرٌ بِهِ, and denying the religion of Allah. وَالْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ, يعني صَدُّ النَّاسِ عَنْ مَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ وَإِخْرَاجُ أَهْلِهِ مِنْهُ أَكْبَرُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. And blocking people from the Masjid al-Haram and taking out and expelling the people who their land is the Masjid al-Haram. These 4 acts, أَكْبَرُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ, they are much more greater sins in front of Allah than just to fight in the Ashhur al-Hurum. Yes, this group of Muslims, they fought in the Ashhur al-Hurum, that is wrong. But what did you do? You did 4 great things, major sins. وَصَدٌّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, you prevent people from believing in the message of Islam. وَكُفْرٌ بِهِ, you yourself, you deny the message of Islam. وَالْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ وَإِخْرَاجُ أَهْلِهِ, and you prevent people from going to the Masjid al-Haram and worshipping there. And you took out the Prophet ﷺ and the people of Makkah from Masjid al-Haram. أَكْبَرُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ, this is greater sins than what you claim the Muslims did. وَالْفِتْنَةُ أَكْبَرُ مِنَ الْقَتْلِ, and the fitna you cause, the shirk you have, it is much more greater of a sin than them fighting you in Ashhur al-Hurum, in the sacred months. And then Allah says, وَلَا يَزَالُونَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ حَتَّى يَرُدُّوكُمْ عَنْ دِينِكُمْ إِنِ اسْتَطَاعُوا. And they will not cease to fight you until they turn you back from your religion, if they can. وَمَنْ يَرْتَدِدْ مِنْكُمْ عَنْ دِينِهِ, and for whoever of you as Muslims leaves this religion, فَيَمُتْ وَهُوَ كَافِرٌ, and he dies upon kufr, فَأُولَٰئِكَ حَبِطَتْ أَعْمَالُهُمْ, then all of your previous actions will be destroyed, your good actions will be lost. فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ, and this one and the hereafter. وَأُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ, and you'll be from the people of the hellfire forever. So even though you fought during Ashhur al-Hurum is wrong, what you are doing, Quraysh, is worse than what the Muslims did. This is why these verses were revealed. طيب. فلما نزلت هذه الآيات, so when these verses were revealed, the Muslims, they found serenity and tranquility again. And of course they sent back those 2 prisoners, they sent back that wealth. This was the Ghazwa or the Sariyah of An-Nakhla of Abdullah ibn Jahsh. Now, With this, Amr al-Hadrami, the one who was killed, he was the head of that Sariyah. He was the first enemy of Islam to be killed in fighting, in actual fighting. And this is important to know because, like we say today, now we're going to go into the greatest battle the Muslims have fought, which is Badr. Why did they fight Badr? This is one of the main reasons. Okay? This is one of the main reasons. We say this is the Sariyah of al-Nakhla, and the head of that caravan of trade, his name was Amr al-Hadrami from the Quraysh of Mecca. He was killed, and the Prophet ﷺ gave the fidya for him. But this, they never forgot it, the Quraysh. Tayyib, as we're going to go and see when we start Ghazwatu Badr. But this one was very important though. This Sariyah of Nakhla, it made the Quraysh, like we said yesterday, one of the reasons why the Muslims were given permission to fight was to cut down the bullying of the Quraysh and the oppression of the Quraysh. So when they saw that the Muslims can come so close to them, like Nakhla, which was so close to Mecca, like we said, now they took a step back and said, oh, now we have to consider these Muslims. If they can come all the way here, and they can actually defeat some of our people and take the caravan, we have to start being afraid of them. So there was good in that Sariyah, Sariyah to An-Nakhla, an Abdullah ibn Jahsh radiyallahu anhu. Tayyib? So, moving on, something else which happened during this same month, the month of Rajab, the second year. The month of Rajab, the second year, one of the great events which happened was the Tahweel al-Qibla, the changing of the Qibla. As we said, and we know, the Muslims, when Salah was prescribed, they used to pray facing where? Jerusalem, Bayt al-Maqdis, like all the other prophets did. But the Prophet ﷺ, he always loved to face the Kaaba in Mecca. So when he used to pray in Mecca, even though he would face Sham, Jerusalem, he would still pray with the Kaaba in front of him. He'd still pray in the direction of Sham, but the Kaaba will be in front of him. And he used to seek and make dua to Allah so that the Qibla will be changed. Now, this is the second year after moving into Medina. A whole year and a few months have passed. The Jews of Medina obviously were happy when they saw that the Muslims, they prayed to Jerusalem. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He commanded His Prophet to change the Qibla and start to face Mecca, which was now the opposite direction while in Medina. In Medina, Sham is north, Quds is north, Mecca is south. In this month of Rajab, the Prophet ﷺ was commanded to change the Qibla. Al-Bara ibn Azib radiallahu anhuma, he says in the hadith reported by Bukhari and Muslim, صلينا مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم نحو بيت المقدس 16 شهرا أو 17 شهرا. We prayed with the Prophet ﷺ in Medina 16 or 17 months facing Bayt al-Maqdis. ثم صرفنا نحو الكعبة, and then we were changed to face the Kaaba in Mecca. And of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He explained this event of the Seerah in the Quran. Allah, He says again in Surah 2 Al-Baqarah, قَدْ نَرَى تَقَلُّبَ وَجْهِكَ فِي السَّمَاءِ. We have seen you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how you always look up to the heavens asking Allah to change the Qibla. فَلَنْوَلِّيَنَّكَ قِبْلَةً تَرْضَاهَا. So from now on, we shall make you face the direction which you love. فَوَلِّ وَجْهَكَ شَطْرَ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ. So from here on, when you pray, face Masjid al-Haram, the sacred Masjid in Mecca. وَحَيْثُمَا كُنْتُمْ فَوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ شَطْرًا. And wherever you are as Muslims, not only when you're in Medina, you are in Toronto, you are in Caracas, Venezuela, you are in Auckland, New Zealand, you are in Siberia, وَحَيْثُمَا كُنْتُمْ فَوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ شَطْرَهُ. Wherever you are as a Muslim, you have to face Mecca. When this happened, the Prophet ﷺ, and the prayer he was praying was Salatul Asr. Salatul Asr. As in the hadith of Al-Bara bin Azib, he said, وَأَنَّهُ صَلَّى أَوَّلَ صَلَاةٍ صَلَّاهَا صَلَاةُ الْعَصْرِ. The first prayer which he changed the Qibla was Salatul Asr of that particular day. What day, what date, we don't know. The exact date we don't know. But it was in Rajab of the second year. So when they left, after they prayed with the Prophet ﷺ and they were walking back home, they passed by the small musallas or masjids in other neighborhoods. He said, so when we passed by, we told them that the Prophet ﷺ, he has gotten wahy, revelation. From now on we face the Masjid al-Haram. So they all turned and they faced Masjid al-Haram. And the news reached Quba the next day. Because Quba, like we said back then, you had to travel to Quba. Today is just 15-20 minute drive. So they were praying Salatul Fajr. And the man passed by and he said, Ushhidu, I bear witness by Allah that the Prophet ﷺ from yesterday, he is praying facing the Kaaba. And they were in ruku'. And they switched while they were still in ruku', they turned around and the Imam turned around. Without asking why, how, who. Tayyib. And this shows you the great importance, concept, whatever you want to call it. We are Muslims. What does it mean to be a Muslim? You are a submitter. Istislam, submitting. You submit to Allah whatever He commands you to do, without asking why, how. They submitted. They were true Muslims. That's why Allah, He raised them up. They didn't ask why, who, how. Oh, let us finish this prayer, then we'll talk about it. No. In ruku', they turned around. That tells you a lot. That tells you a lot. Real istislam. Complete istislam, submission. So that was when the Qibla was changed. And of course, this did not please the Jews. It did not please the Jews. So that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the Jews and also the mushrikun of Medina. They started to talk and say, oh, see what they're doing? And that is why Allah, He started that particular Jews of the Quran. Allah said what? سَيَقُولُ السُّفَهَاءُ مِنَ النَّاسِ. The stupid of the people. Pardon my language, my younger brothers and sisters. But Allah called them stupid in the Quran. سَيَقُولُ السُّفَهَاءُ مِنَ النَّاسِ. The stupid of the people shall say, مَا وَاللَّهُمْ عَنْ قِبْلَتِهِمُ الَّتِي كَانُوا عَلَيْهَا. What made them change from the Qibla they used to pray? Allah says, قُلْ, say to them, لِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقُ وَالْمَغْرِبُ. The east belongs to Allah, the west belongs to Allah. يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. He guides whosoever He wants to the straight path. It is Allah who decides. And this is very important, guys, very important. Because we live in a time of too many questions about Islam. Why do you have to pray 5 times? Why do you have to wear hijab? Why do you have to cover your face? Why do you have to keep your beard? Why do you have to believe there's only one God? And you try to explain yourself in a long speech and you say no. Sometimes, in fact, most of the times, the answer is simple. Our God, Allah, He told us that simple. We do what He says. We are Muslims. We submit. This issue of trying to find a wisdom and reason for everything, it takes you into problems sometimes. It is a simple answer. We submit to what our Lord, our Creator, He says. He said, dress like this, we dress like this. He said, pray like this, we pray like this. Simple, very simple. So when they asked, Allah says to the Prophet ﷺ, they shall say, some of the foolish ones, what made them change from the Qibla? Respond with a simple answer. Qul, say to them, Lillahi al-mashriq wal-maghrib. To Allah belongs the east or the west. Wherever we face, He told us to face, that's it. And then another question. The next question though came from the Muslims though. The Muslims, they came to the Prophet ﷺ. They never asked why do we change, of course, because they were true Muslims. But they said, Ya Rasulullah, Ikhwanuna, our brothers who have died before this day, all they prayed, their whole salahs were directed to where? Bayt al-Maqdis, Jerusalem. What about them? Those salahs they prayed. Look at the real brotherhood which we talked about 2 days ago. Subhanallah. They are worrying about those Muslims who died before that, before the change of the Qibla. Their prayers which they prayed before, what about those prayers? What will happen to them? And in the same context of Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number, I think it's the next verse if I'm not wrong. Allah subhanahu, this is 143. Allah said to them, وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُضِيعَ إِيمَانَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ بِالنَّاسِ لَرَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. Indeed, surely, it was not for Allah to make it to go to waste your iman. Pay attention. That is the answer Allah gave them. Allah will not make your iman go to waste. Indeed, Allah, He is to the people Ra'ufun, the most kind, Rahim, the most merciful. Allah did not say Allah was not going to make your salahs that you prayed go to waste. No. Allah said Allah is not going to make your iman go to waste. Because salah is part of iman. And that is why we Ahl Sunnah, we say iman is what? Belief and actions. That is iman. Iman is not just say, I'm a Muslim in my heart, but I don't pray. Your iman is very, 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 very much lacking, if it's still there. Yes. So Allah say, when they asked, what about our brothers who prayed only to Jerusalem? Allah responded, Surah Al-Baqarah 143, Allah was never to make your iman go to waste. They will be rewarded for those prayers. As we'll see after, when khamr, alcohol, was to be made completely haram, they came and they said, oh, what about our brothers who used to pray when alcohol was allowed? And Allah will give them the same response. It was allowed then, so khalas, Allah gave them the reward. Tayyib? This is very important. And this shows you what? It shows you business with Allah never goes into a loss. Yes. If you're sincere with Allah, I'm sincerely leaving my house, I'm going to learn my religion. That reward will never fade, will never go away. Spreads out. I'm sincerely doing this dhikr for Allah, reading this Quran, praying, doing dua, helping people, donating, charity. Business with Allah is never a loss. We read every Friday in Surah Al-Kahf, sorry. What does the verse say? Al-malu wal-banuna zinatul hayatid dunya. Wealth, your car, your house, your big account, your clothes is good. And your children, your family, is an adornment and enjoyment of this world. Zinatul hayatid dunya. But, you know this is not permanent. It's going to end. That is why Allah followed up by saying what? وَالْبَاقِيَاتُ الصَّالِحَاتُ. The remaining permanent good deeds. خَيْرٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ. They'll always be remaining with Allah. And the reward is greater. And the Prophet ﷺ said, you know what is the baqiyatu salihat, the remaining good deeds? He said, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, La hawla la quwwata illa billah. He said, those are the baqiyatul salihat. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhum, he said, those are part of them. Every good action you do is baqiyatul salihat. So business with Allah, you can never lose. So this is when the Qibla was changed. Alright? So the Qibla was changed during Rajab of the second year. Rajab of the second year. Another thing which happened around this time, or maybe it was this is debatable, but it was the fasting of Ashura. The fasting of Ashura. The Prophet ﷺ, he found that the Jews, they were fasting this day, Ashura. And it is said, why is it mentioning it in Rajab? We know Ashura is always in which month? Muharram. It's because they, the Jews, it is said, back then, they were following the solar calendar like we are doing now, not the lunar calendar. So obviously the days were not in Muharram. You know the lunar calendar which we follow. Lunar calendar, we look at the moon. When they say lunar in English is the moon. We look at the moon and we say, okay, today is the beginning of Rajab or whatever, Muharram. Or the calendar we follow conventionally, call it the Gregorian calendar, they follow the sun movement. So you have 31 days or 30 days for that set. And then they have a weird month, they have 28 days or 29 days, which is February. Why? Nobody knows why. But the lunar calendar is only either 29 or 30 days. 29, 30 days. Never goes above that. So if you count with solar days, it's going to be farther. So the Prophet ﷺ asked them, why are you fasting this day? They said, هَذَا يَوْمُ الَّذِي نَجَى اللَّهُ فِيهِ مُوسَى. This is the day Allah saved Musa alayhi salam and his people from Fir'aun. The day Allah drowned Fir'aun and his troops. So when he heard that, the Prophet ﷺ said, نَحْنُ أَحَقُّ فِي رِوَايَةٍ نَحْنُ أَوْلَى بِمُوسَى مِنْكُمْ. We have more rights and we are closer to Musa than you. He's our prophet. You don't follow him anymore. Because Musa did not come with the Jewish religion. He came with Islam. So the Prophet ﷺ told the Muslims, we have to fast this day also, because we are closer to Musa. And he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to everyone, take the news to everyone. And this was after around Dhuhr. He said, tell everyone, even if they ate in the morning breakfast, they should stop eating for the rest of the day. And that is the Psalm of Ashura. It happened around this time. I don't want to go into details with that. Now, this was Rajab. In fact, now we are in Rajab today. After Rajab comes which month? Sha'ban. After Sha'ban, we are in the second year of the Hijrah. In Sha'ban, there's nothing recorded which we have in the Seerah. But something was continuing. And that is the Prophet ﷺ was teaching his companions. And they were learning the religion, the young and the old. Sha'ban passed, Ramadan came in. And that was the first Ramadan for the Muslims. So fasting of Ramadan started in the second year. Okay, so this year, the second year, you see how many things happened. The Qibla was changed. Ashura, they started to fast. Now they're fasting Ramadan. And they began fasting Ramadan this year, but they fasted unlike us. Fasting of Ramadan, it was also brought in stages. The first stage, they were given a choice. If you want to fast, you fast. And if you don't want to fast, then you do the fidya. You feed one poor person for every day you miss. They had a choice. Either fast or fidya. And if you look at the ayahs of fasting in Ramadan, you will see that. Allah says, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ. يُطِيقُونَهُ, they can fast, but they also have the option they can just feed. Salam ibn al-Aqwa radiallahu anhu, he says, كان من أراد منا أن يفطر ويفتدي. With this ayah, لما نزلت وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين, and those who are able to do so fasting, they also have the option to feed the poor. He said we had a choice until the next verse was revealed. So the second stage of Ramadan fasting was, they were told now this only applies to those who are sick and they cannot fast anymore. Then they should just feed the poor. But if you can fast, you have to fast. And that applies until today. If you can fast, you have no excuse, you're not sick, you're not a traveler. And even the traveler, even the woman in her days, after Ramadan ends, you have to make up that fast. Except for the others we're going to talk about. And then also, and that is when Allah said to them, وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ, that you fast, that is better for you. So now they are told you have to fast. And also from this time, what used to happen is that after Isha, they were not allowed to eat or drink or to enjoy with their spouses. And if someone slept, of course you fast from Fajr to Maghrib, so you can eat, sleep, you can eat and drink and enjoy with your spouse until Isha, that's it. But if you slept, let's say at Asr, and you woke up at Isha, then you cannot eat or sleep or enjoy with your spouse or drink until tomorrow. Until tomorrow. And as you can figure out, this was tough. It was tough. If you slept during that time, then khalas, that's it. That is it. But of course, they were human beings. If it was me and you, will do it every day. So when they woke up, some of them had to eat or drink or enjoy with their spouses. And that is why, again, in the same context in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah said to them what? أُحِلَّ لَكُمْ لَيْلَةَ الصِّيَامِ الرَّفَثُ إِلَى نِسَائِكُمْ. It is now allowed for you. Anytime you want to enjoy with your wife, your husband, you can do that. هُنَّ لِبَاسٌ لَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لِبَاسٌ لَهُنَّ. And Allah said to them what? عَلِمَ اللَّهُ أَنَّكُمْ كُنْتُمْ تَخْتَانُونَ أَنفُسَكُمْ فَتَابَ عَلَيْكُمْ. Allah knows that some of you used to break this rule. Allah knows, of course, you can't hide from Allah. But Allah has forgiven you. Allah has forgiven you. فَالْآنَ, now you can enjoy, you can eat, sleep, drink until Fajr. Until Fajr. And that is how we are now fasting. So these are the three stages of Ramadan and how it was prescribed. It's very important. This is our history. See the benefit of learning the Seerah. Look how we have it so much easier than them. And we talked about before, if you remember, for them, Qiyamul Layl was a must. Every day. You have to pray Qiyamul Layl every day. Nisfahu aw inqus minhu qalila. Half of the night or at least a third of the night. And it was difficult. Actually Allah told them, okay, it's not a must. And also, something which goes with fasting of Ramadan is what? Now, what do we do at the end of Ramadan? Not Tarawih. No. Zakatul Fitr. Zakatul Fitr. Okay? Zakatul Fitr, the Prophet ﷺ, he said what? It is tuhrun, it's a purification of your fasting. Because we fast, but maybe we do something haram, not good. So at the end of Ramadan, you give that charity, Zakatul Fitr, which is given only to the poor people. And the other goal of it is so that the poor people can have food during Eid. So Zakatul Fitr was also commissioned during this time, the second year of Hijrah. The second year of Hijrah. And of course, the ahkam of Ramadan, the ahkam of Fitr, we're not discussing today. I'm sure most of you know that already, alhamdulillah. And soon Ramadan is coming, there's going to be a Ramadan class for sure. Allahu A'lam. Allahu A'lam. Was the fasting of Ramadan the 3 stages? Was it the same year? Allahu A'lam. Allahu A'lam. So these are some of the things which happened during that year. So now, Abdul Hayy, we are in what? What is the date we are in?
Today?
Ramadan of the second year of Hijrah. So we'll take a break and pause time and then come back and restart time, if that is possible. And go back to a time machine. We'll take a 5-minute break and then come back, inshallah. Ismail was here. بس لو تخليه أحسن.
خلي waste time.
I'm afraid if you stop it and then who is going to cut it?
Sure.
Find tahina.
Huh?
Tahina.
I was going to ask for a charger for iPhone.
I don't have. Every time.
يا محمد عمار تعال جلس to دكتور خالد في قهوة please احنا we said we stop at 5 or 5:15.
We said we'll stop at 5:15. Is it? No, 5.
5 so we
Yeah.
can have the
And
but the
start
food will be
again.
here.
Yes, and start 5:45.
Okay.
Yeah, at 5. You're right.
So we have okay good. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We are going to discuss now one of the greatest events which happened in the Islamic history. And this happened, like we said, we are in the second year after the Hijrah, and this is the month of Ramadan. And we have known that the Muslims were fasting. This is the Battle of Badr. The Battle of Badr, or sometimes it's called the second Battle of Badr, because we saw there was a small expedition sent to Badr, or it's called the Greater Badr, Ghazwatu Badr al-Kubra. Badr is the place where this battle is going to take place. So the battle itself was called after the place. Badr, it occurred on the 17th day of Ramadan. On the 17th day of Ramadan, which was a Jum'ah, Friday. It was a Friday. This is one of the greatest events in Islamic history, to the point that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He called it Yawm al-Furqan. Yawm al-Furqan. The day of the criterion, or the day of the distinction, when the truth became apparent and falsehood became demolished. This day is so special that one day, as in the hadith reported by Imam Bukhari, that Mu'adh ibn Rifa'a ibn Rafi' al-Zuraqi, and his father was from the people who fought in Badr. He says one day Jibreel came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is after. And he said to him, Jibreel asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Ma ta'udduna ahla badrin fikum?" How do you value? How do you treat the people who fought in Badr? فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم, so the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, "Min afdal al-Muslimin, from the best of all Muslims." قال, so Jibreel he replied saying, وَكَذَلِكَ مَنْ شَهِدَ بَدْرًا مِنَ الْمَلَائِكَةِ, and likewise we, the angels, we view the angels who fought and participated in Badr, they are the best angels ever. So this shows you how great this day was. It shows you how great this day was. And as you're going to see after, Allah, He looked at those companions who fought in Badr, and He said to them, "I'malu ma shi'tum, do whatever you want. I have forgiven you. Jannah is a must for you." So this is a great day. This is a great day. In fact, the scholars of Islam, they say this is the greatest event. Even though we say the better opinion is that the Hijrah was the greatest event to ever happen. So, why did they fight? Why was this battle fought? It was fought, if you remember, we talked about the small expedition of Dhul Ushayrah. When the Muslims went out, because there was a caravan of Abu Sufyan, it was going to Sham. But when they got there, they had missed it. Now they got the news that caravan was coming back from Sham, going back to Mecca. That caravan was going back to Mecca. And this caravan was special. Why? Because it carried a whole lot, many, whatever adjectives you want to use. It was one of the greatest caravans in terms of wealth. There was no one in Mecca except he had put most, if not all of his wealth invested in this caravan. This caravan, imagine it consisted of 1,000 camels. 1,000 camels. The wealth was estimated at 50,000 dinar. 50,000 dinar of gold. Dinar is gold. Dirham is silver. If you want to ask what is that in today's value, a dinar of gold is roughly 5 grams of gold. Roughly 4 or 5. So 50,000 multiplied by 5 is what? 250,000 grams of gold, which is how many kilograms? 25 kilograms of gold. Because 1,000 grams is 1 kilogram. 25 kilograms of gold is a lot of money. 1 kilogram of gold is around $50,000. 1 kilogram of gold is around $50,000. So multiply that by 25. 50,000 multiplied by 25. It's almost what?
1.25 million.
1.25 or 12.5 million?
1.25.
$1.25 million in one caravan. And if you want to be more precise of that value that day, today will be like 10 billion. So the Muslims, they got the news that caravan, they had done their business in Sham, they were coming back profitable to Mecca. Remember, رحلة الشتاء والصيف. So when they got the news, and this news, it was brought that the Prophet ﷺ, he sent out his scouts to spy. If I'm not wrong, one of them was Talha ibn Ubaidullah. They brought back the news that this caravan is coming back. So the Prophet ﷺ, because this was a great caravan, the great leaders of the Quraysh were heading it. So Abu Sufyan was there. This was before Abu Sufyan became Muslim, obviously. Abu Sufyan was heading this caravan. And Amr ibn al-As, who later of course will become a Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ, he got out of his house and he said to the Muslims in Medina, إِنِّي أُخْبِرْتُ عَنْ عِيرِ أَبِي سُفْيَانَ أَنَّهَا مُقْبِلَةٌ. I've been told that the caravan of Abu Sufyan is coming back. فَهَلْ لَكُمْ أَن نَخْرُجَ قِبْلَ هَذِي الْعِيرِ. What do you guys think we go out and meet this caravan? لَعَلَّ اللَّهَ يُغْنِمْنَاهَا. Maybe Allah will give that wealth back to us. Remember, this was their wealth they left in Mecca, and this was the wealth the Quraysh of Mecca they used to fight the Muslims. So the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they said, yes, Ya Rasulullah, let's go out. When they said that, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, لا يحضر معنا, nobody will come with us except those who are ready. Except those who are ready. Your horse is ready, your weapons are ready, let's go. So some of them, they came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they said, our camels, they are in the awali, the suburbs, the outskirts of Medina. We can go get them. He said, no. Only those who are ready right now, we're going. Because again, they were not going to fight. They were going to intercept the caravan. So they left, and there were about 300 and something men. There were about 300 and something men. When did they leave exactly? They left on the 12th of Ramadan. They left on the 12th of Ramadan. How do we know the number? There were 319. There were 319. How do we know that? Because of many Sahih hadith reported by Al-Bara ibn Azib, who, by the way, we're going to mention him right now. He says, Al-Bara ibn Azib, كنا نتحدث أن أصحاب محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم أصحاب بدر 310 بعدة أصحاب طالوت الذين جاوزوا معه النهر وما جاوز معه إلا مؤمن. We used to say to each other that the number of Muslims who went out with the Prophet ﷺ to Badr, they were the same number as the followers of Talut. Know the story of Talut? Right? Talut was the leader of the Muslims. He was going out to fight Goliath, Jalut. And in that small army of Talut came this young boy or young man. His name is Dawood alayhi salam, who later on will kill Jalut, and Allah will make him the Prophet Dawood as we know him. But you know, they were tested because they were few. And Jalut was this big giant, and they had a great army. So they were told when they were going to fight, they were poor, it was a long trek. They came through a river. And Talut, who by the way was not from the noble men, that is why the Banu Israel, they said, why is Talut our leader? If you go back to Surah Al-Baqarah, you see that story. They were given a test. They were told, don't drink from this river even though you're thirsty. Illa بِغُرْفَةٍ مِّنَ الْمَاءِ. Only handful. You can take a handful and drink, that's it. Allah was testing them. Allah says, فَشَرِبُوا مِنْهُ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا مِنْهُ. Most of them drank, except a few. They only drank, as they were told, one handful. And those are the ones who crossed the river. And those are the ones who went and fought. So those ones, there were 319. The same number the Prophet ﷺ went out with in this great battle of Badr. 319. And from these 319, around 60 something or 80 something were from the Muhajirun. And the rest, 200 and something, were from the Ansar. Because as you know, number one, the Ansar are more than the Muhajirun. And from the Ansar, though, something strange happened. We know the two tribes of the Ansar are the Aus and the Khazraj. And the Aus, they're more, and they're stronger, and they're braver. But the Khazraj were much more, and there were many than the Aus in this battle. Why? Because the Aus were more in number and braver. They live outside of Medina mostly. And remember this battle, the Prophet ﷺ said what? Only those who are ready right now, they're going. That is why the Khazraj outnumbered the Aus. So the Prophet ﷺ, he left with that 319 number army. And it is worthwhile to note, they only had 70 camels. So, every 3 men or 4 men had to share 1 camel. So you walk, and then your friend gets on the camel, and then the other friend gets on the camel and he walks, and then it's your time to ride on the camel. And the Prophet ﷺ, he shared the camel with Abu Lubaba radiallahu anhu and Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu. But when it came his turn to walk, to get off the camel and walk, they would say to him, Ya Rasulullah, you just continue, we'll walk. And he said to them, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Lastum bi aqwa minni, you are not stronger than me. And you do not need the ajr more than I need it also. So I'm walking also. Like we mentioned yesterday, he was a true leader. He led by example, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. 70 camels, that's all they had. And they only had 2 horses. Now horses are very critical at that time. The horses are like F-16 jets of today in battle. Without the warplanes today, you can never win a war. The horse was the jet back then. The Muslims only had 2 horses. In fact, one narration says they only had 1 horse. And that was the horse of Al-Miqdad. Most people know him as Al-Miqdad ibn Aswad. His actual name is Al-Miqdad ibn Amr. And the other horse belonged to Az-Zubair ibn Awam radiallahu anhu. Only 2 horses. Now I want to repeat this point and say again, it was a voluntary participation. Whoever's ready, let him go. So whoever was not ready, they saw the Prophet ﷺ left with 300 so men, and they're just going to intercept a caravan. Alhamdulillah, they're going. So it's very important to mention some of the notables who did not go out. Number 1, Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu, the 3rd greatest man in this ummah. He was ready to go out. In fact, he was ready to go out. But the Prophet ﷺ said to him, stop, you're not going. Because his wife, Ruqayya, the daughter of the Prophet ﷺ, she was very sick. And the Prophet ﷺ said, you have to sit and tend to your wife. And you will get the reward like those who are going with me. Another one was Talha ibn Ubaidullah and Sa'id ibn Zayd radiallahu anhu. Why did they not participate in the fighting? Like I said, they were the 2 scouts who went to look for the caravan. When they saw the caravan, they were coming back to Medina to tell the Prophet ﷺ, we saw Abu Sufyan coming from Sham. But the Prophet had been told by wahy already, revelation. So he had gone out already. By the time they got back to Medina, they went out and the Prophet was coming back after the battle. So Talha ibn Ubaidullah, who we know is one of the greatest warriors, and one of the 10 best companions, and Sa'id bin Zayd, they both did not fight in Badr, but the Prophet ﷺ gave them their share also, because they went out to look for the caravan. Also, Abu Lubaba ibn Abdul Mundhir radiallahu anhu, Abu Lubaba, he went out with the Prophet ﷺ. Actually, he did not go out. The Prophet ﷺ, he met him at the place called Rawha. And Abu Lubaba said, I'm going with you, O Messenger of Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ said, no, you should go back to Medina and be in charge of Medina. And by the way, when the Prophet ﷺ left Medina, he put in charge, can you guess who? Abdullah ibn Makhtum, the blind man. You are the governor and the leader of Medina. You lead Salah. We said in Islam, physical handicap doesn't mean anything. It's your iman, it's your merit, it's your value. Another one, was Abu Umar ibn Tha'laba radiyallahu anhu. Listen to this story. Abu Umar, he was ready to go out. In fact, he was ready. He went out. But his khal, his maternal uncle, meaning the brother of his mother, Abu Burda radiallahu anhu, he said to him, where are you going? Your mother is very sick. You should sit back and tend to your mother. And he said to his uncle, where are you going? I should go, I am young, and you should tend to your sister. You should tend to your sister. So they took the case, obviously, and the dispute to the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said to Abu Umama, you have to go back and tend to your mother. She has more rights over you, of course, than rights over her brother. This is your mother, which we talked about yesterday. This is greater than you going to fight. So Abu Umama radiallahu anhu, he went back to tend to his mother, who by the way passed away in those same days. When the Prophet ﷺ came back from Badr, he prayed on her the janazah. Also from those who could not go out, or did not go out, was Asim ibn Adi radiallahu anhu. And Asim, he was ready to go out, he was ready. But the Prophet ﷺ, he told him, go to Quba and be in charge there. Because they fear maybe there are some enemies who may try to attack us or strike something in Quba. And from those who did not participate in the fighting but they went out, is this great Sahabi called Khawat radiallahu anhu. He went out with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam until they reached the place called Safra, when his camel tossed him, and he fell down and he died. But the Prophet ﷺ, after the battle, he gave him a full portion of the war spoils to his family. Khawat ibn Jubair radiallahu anhu. And also from those who did not participate but they could. Listen to this one. Hudhayfah ibn al-Yaman radiallahu anhu. You know Hudhayfah. He's mentioned a lot. Did you know Al-Yaman, the father of Hudhayfah, was a Muslim also? They accepted Islam, both of them in Makkah. And we're going to mention his story. Very sad story. But anyways, when the Muslims were given permission to migrate to Medina from Makkah, Hudhayfah and his father set out of Makkah to Medina. On the road, of course, as we know, the Quraysh was stopping everybody. Where are you going? They stopped them. Where are you going? They said, we're just going somewhere. They said, no, you're going to join Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They said, yes. They said, then we cannot let you go. said, why? Of course, because they were fighting the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims. Until they agreed, they said to them, okay, we're going to let you go, but you have to promise us you'll never fight us. So Hudayfa and his father, they gave a promise and they signed an agreement with the Quraysh that they won't fight the Quraysh. So when the time of Badr was ready and everybody was going out, they came and they said, Ya Rasulullah, we are ready to go, but we gave those people a promise. Listen, these are the enemies of Islam. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said what? In Sarifa, go. Nafi lahum bi'ahdihim. We're going to keep the promise we gave them. وَنَسْتَعِينُ عَلَى اللَّهِ بِهِمْ وَنَسْتَعِينُ بِاللَّهِ وَنَسْتَعِينُ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ. And we're going to ask Allah's help over them. These are two people who are lost in the army already. But look, that is Islam. Keep the promise. Even to the enemy of Islam. So these are some of those who could not participate in the fight. The most notable ones, Uthman, Talha, Sa'id bin Zayd. Okay? So the Prophet ﷺ, he set out, and right outside of Medina, he camped there. He camped there. And there, because the camels, they had bells. You know how they put bells even on the cows in the farms? They tie a string with a bell. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, cut these bells off. Cut it off, all of them. And why did he say cut it off? It is because people believed, rather than it's hard on the animal even to breathe, that's animal cruelty. In Islam, that's not acceptable. In Islam, it's not acceptable. No one should preach to us Muslims animal rights. We have that long time ago. The next thing also is because people have these corrupt beliefs. Like even humans, they would they tie a string and they say this string will protect me. Tamima. A charm, as they call it, for protection. And they used to do that to protect their camels and whatever. You know, the camel is the most prized asset of an Arab. So the Prophet ﷺ said, cut it. مَنْ تَعَلَّقَ تَمِيمًا فَقَدْ أَشْرَكَ. Whoever wears an amulet, a charm for protection, he has committed shirk. So that happened then. And at this point, the Prophet ﷺ, he examined who he had. He examined who he had. And this place, it was called Badr Abu Inaba. It's very close to Medina. Today it's part of Medina. And here the Prophet ﷺ, he returned some people because they were young. The most notable of them, Abdullah ibn Umar, he was told to return because he was young. Al-Bara bin Azib, he was told to return. Anas ibn Malik, he was allowed because he was the servant of the Prophet ﷺ. And his brother Uwaymir, the Prophet ﷺ returned him, the brother of Anas, even though he was 16. But then he came back and he started to cry to the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ let him join. Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, he says, or Abdurrahman bin Auf, he was so young that I had to help him carry his sword, the sheath of the sword. I had to help him carry that. So some of the young Sahaba were returned. And here the Prophet ﷺ, he appointed the leaders of the army now. So of course he is the leader, commander-in-chief. But he appointed the general in charge of this army was Mus'ab ibn Umair radiallahu anhu. Imagine an army consisting of Abu Bakr and Omar and Ali. Mus'ab was the leader. And he divided them into two battalions. A battalion of the Muhajirun and a battalion of the Ansar. And the leader of the Muhajirun battalion was Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu. He gave him the flag. And the leader of the battalion of the Ansar was Sa'd ibn Mu'adh radiallahu anhu. And then he divided them into the war strategy now. The right flank and the left flank and the middle. The right flank was under Az-Zubair ibn Awam radiallahu anhu. And the left flank was under Miqdad ibn Amr radiallahu anhu. And the middle was under Qais ibn Abi Sa'atu radiallahu anhu. And of course he sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the main leader. And when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he looked at them, he was touched, he became emotional because they were poor. Imagine an army of 300 and something men, only 70 camels, only 2 horses. They barely had shoes or even clothes. So he made dua to Allah saying, Allahumma innahum hufatun fahmilhum. Oh Allah, they are walking on their bare feet, so give them animals to ride. Allahumma innahum uratun faksuhum. They barely have clothes, let alone clothes of war attire, male coat of mail. They don't even have that. Oh Allah, clothe them. Allahumma innahum jiya'un fa ashbi'ahum. They are hungry, give them food. And Allah is going to accept the du'as you're going to see. Now again, remember, it was Ramadan, 12th of Ramadan. The Prophet ﷺ, he commanded them there and then, everybody has to break their fast. Because now they had left the houses of Medina. And that's the hukm of fasting. Once you leave the houses, like you live in Ottawa, you pass the borders of Ottawa, faraqta al-bunyan, now you can eat and drink, you're musafir. So the Prophet ﷺ told them, aftiru, break your fast. Because why? Not only you travelers, this is hard. Maybe you're going to face the enemy. And the Prophet ﷺ, then he marched on. He passed to the Hulayfa. He went to the Badr Rawha, like we said. That's where Khawwat died, radiallahu anhu. And then he took the way of Makkah. And then he reached Badr. When he reached Badr, he stayed at the lower part or the closest part of the valley. You know, Badr is a valley. So he stayed on the lower part or the closest part to Medina. That's why he camped. Again, they went out to do what? Looking for that caravan which has over 50,000 dinar of gold. While he was there, while on the road, a man came to the Prophet ﷺ. And this man is the hadith of Aisha in the Sahih of Muslim. كَانَ يُذْكَرْ مِنْهُ جُرْأَةٌ وَنَجْدَةٌ شُجَاعٌ. This man was known for his bravery, courageous, a great warrior. When the Muslims, they saw him coming to join the army, they were so happy. But he was not a Muslim. So when he came, the Prophet ﷺ asked him, what do you want? He said, I came to join you, to fight with you. The Prophet ﷺ said, أَتُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ? Do you believe in Allah and His Messenger? قال لا, he said no. He said, the Prophet ﷺ, then we don't need your help. And the Prophet ﷺ continued on. Then he came again, he said, I'm going to fight with you. Same question, do you believe in Allah and His Messenger? He said no. He said, إِذَنْ لَا نَسْتَعِينُ بِمُشْرِكٍ. We don't want the help of a mushrik. But the man never gave up. He came a third time. And the Prophet ﷺ asked him the same question. Do you believe in Allah and His Messenger? He said, now I believe in Allah and His Messenger. And the Prophet ﷺ said, now you can join us. And I want to mention here, this is a basic fiqh matter issue the scholars of Islam they discuss. Can a Muslim army, can a Muslim nation seek help from non-Muslims? Military help. There are other hadith which show yes, but with two conditions only, to summarize this issue. Number one, if the Muslims actually need the help. If they need the help, then yes. And number two, if that help of the non-Muslims, they are trustworthy, not that they are going to turn against the Muslims, either within the battle or after the battle. With these two conditions, it's allowed. The Prophet ﷺ, he reached Al-Udwatul Dunya, the lower part, the nearer part of Badr Valley to Medina, and he camped there. When he reached there, the Prophet ﷺ, he sent out his companion Basbasa to go and spy where did this caravan reach. But Abu Sufyan, if you remember 2 months ago, what happened? An-Nakhla, Abdullah bin Jahsh, remember? He killed Amr al-Hadrami, and he took that caravan, and he took those prisoners. So now all of the Makkans, they were, like we said, they were afraid and on alert. So Abu Sufyan was leading this caravan. He sent out his spies to go and look. And whenever he passed by people, he would ask them, did you see anything? And he passed by a man, and they told him, we saw 2 people who were camped somewhere there. So Abu Sufyan went and he looked at the camp, and he saw the dead pit, the seed. And he looked at it and said, this is from Yathrib. This is from Medina. And I only think these are the spies of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. They are after us. So what did he do? Abu Sufyan, he did 2 things. Number one, he sent a messenger to rush to Mecca. Remember, this is the biggest caravan they've had. It contains the wealth of everybody. And Abu Sufyan is just him and other 20 men, 29 men. They can't fight the Muslims. So he sent this man, his name is Damdama. Strange name. His name is Damdama ibn Amr al-Ghifari. He told him, go to Mecca right away and inform them that your caravan, your wealth is in danger. But he himself also, Abu Sufyan, he changed his route and he went towards the coastline. This man Damdama, he rushed to Mecca. When he reached Mecca, what did he do? This is how you ride your camel. He turned around and faced the other side. And before doing that, he chopped off the nose of his camel and cut off the ears of the camel, so the camel was bleeding. And he tore off his clothes and he stood on top of his camel and he called the Qurayshis, and Najda, help, help, your caravan is being attacked. Muhammad is attacking the caravan. He made a scene, yes, he made a scene. He made sure people got that message. Now I want to pause here. Listen to this great event which happened 3 days before that. I want to take you now 3 days before that. 3 days before that, the aunt of the Prophet ﷺ, her name is Atiqa. We don't know, was she Muslim yet or not? Allahu A'lam. But Atiqa, she's the sister of Abdullah, the father of the Prophet, the sister of Al-Abbas. She's the aunt of the Prophet ﷺ, Atika bint Abdul Muttalib. 3 days before that, she saw a dream. And that dream terrified her. So she called her brother Al-Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib radiallahu anhu, who apparently was still not a Muslim, Al-Abbas. And he told him, oh my brother, I saw a dream which scared me. And I'm not going to tell you the dream unless you promise me you won't tell anyone. Faktumha, keep it a secret. Al-Abbas, he said, okay. And she said, Atika, I saw that a man came on his camel until he reached Abtah, which is Makkah. And then he called out on his highest voice, Ala infiru ya ala ghudrin limasari'ikum. That man, he called out saying, oh people who are treacherous, you people who cheat, come on, go out to the place of your death. And he called this out 3 times. And I saw people gathered around him. And then this man entered the masjid, meaning Masjid al-Haram, in the dream. And they followed him. And when they followed him, his camel appeared on the Kaaba. And then he called out 3 times on the Kaaba, Ala infiru ya ala ghudrin limasari'ikum fi thalathin. Oh you treacherous evil people, go out to the place you'll die in 3 days. In 3 days. And then this man, he took a huge rock and he threw it. And that rock, it exploded into small pieces. And there was no house in Makkah except some of those chipped rocks entered the houses of Makkah. This is the dream I saw, oh my brother. She was still a non-Muslim, Allahu A'lam. So she said to Abu Sufyan, she said to Abbas, don't tell anyone this dream though. But I am afraid of this dream. Abu Sufyan, Al-Abbas radiallahu anhu, was still not a Muslim at that time. He went out and he said to her also before leaving, don't tell anyone this dream, it's very scary. But Al-Abbas, he was a very close friend with Al-Walid ibn Utbah. Memorize that name, is going to come back soon. Walid, the son of Utbah. We know Utbah, we mentioned Utbah bin Rabi'ah and his brother Shaykh bin Rabi'ah, 2 criminals, a'udhu billah, and their son Walid. Al-Abbas was very close to Walid bin Utbah. So he couldn't hold himself, Al-Abbas. He ended up telling Al-Walid the dream. When he did that, Al-Walid was scared. When he went home, he told his father, Utbah bin Rabi'ah, who was one of the main criminals of Quraysh. When Utbah had this dream, he told the other criminals of Quraysh, and then all of Makkah heard of this dream. When the main criminal, the Fir'aun of this ummah, Abu Jahl, la'anahu Allah, when he heard of this dream, it was the next day. He actually saw Al-Abbas doing tawaf around the Kaaba. You know, they used to sit close to the Kaaba. And he said, that's Al-Abbas. They said, yes. He said, let him finish. When Al-Abbas finished his tawaf, he called him. He said, what is these words I hear from you? That this dream is going to happen after 3 days. He said, wallahi, you're scaring us and our women. So I'm giving you and Banu Hashim, your tribe, the family of the Prophet ﷺ, 3 days. If it doesn't happen, we will write on a piece of parchment or skin and we'll hang it forever in the Kaaba that you, Banu Hashim, are liars, you and your women. When Al-Abbas heard this, he was scared now, terrified. So he went back to his sister, Atika. By the time he got there, Abbas, he says, every woman from Banu Hashim started to come to me. And they said to me, this fasiq, this evil man, you guys could not stop him from cursing you, our man of Banu Hashim, and cursing Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now he's even cursing your women? Where's your ghira? Where's your jealousy? The women of Banu Hashim were telling this to Al-Abbas. Where's your jealousy? So he was scared, obviously. Al-Abbas, he was scared. He said when the third day came, after the day Atika saw the dream, I woke up, I was angry, stressed, and I knew that today was a bad day, because we'll be proven to be liars. And you have to remember, we talked about this. The Arabs, the mushrikun of Quraysh, even with their shirk, and they used to kill their daughters, and they used to deal in riba, and they used to drink alcohol morning and evening. Lying? No. Or maybe you can lie once, but being called a liar? No. They would never take that. He said, so I went to the Kaaba and I met, of course, the main criminal. Who's that main criminal, guys? He says he came to me and he said, what is the news you have? And it was a man who was thin. He had a shining face. He said, while we were talking, we heard the voice of Damdama. We heard someone screaming. We heard someone screaming. And he, Abu Jahl, knew right away that was the dream. That was Damdama who had chopped off the nose of his camel and the ears and was screaming his lungs out. So the dream turned out to be true. So what did they do? He screamed out, he's saying, your wealth. And remember, everyone had invested in this caravan. So he, Abu Jahl, right away, he said, we are going to prepare the biggest army we have with all the weapons. We're going to go and fight and kill Muhammad and his people. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So they prepared their army. And no one would stay back. Banu Hashim, obviously the family of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Al-Abbas, Aqil, the brother of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and Talib, the brother of Ali, they did not want to go out, but they were forced to go out. They were forced to go out. And someone else who was forced to go out was Umayyah bin Khalaf, the great criminal. Remember Umayyah bin Khalaf? The one who used to torture Bilal? Used to put him on the desert sand and put a rock on him. Umayyah bin Khalaf was scared to go out, even though he's one of the leaders of the Quraysh. Why was he scared? We mentioned this previously, yesterday actually. Remember when Sa'ad bin Mu'adh went to Mecca to do tawaf, to do Umrah, and he was hosted by Umayyah. And when he was doing Umrah, Abu Lahab threw some words at Sa'ad and they started to curse each other. And Umayyah said, why are you talking to Abu Lahab like that? And Sa'ad said to Umayyah, what? The Prophet ﷺ informed me that you are going to be killed. So Umayyah, when he heard now that they're going to go with an army to face the Prophet ﷺ, he was afraid. He said, maybe this was what I was told. So he tried every way to escape. But Abu Jahl came to him and said, Ya Umayyah, if you don't go out, what about these followers? They follow you. You have to go out. Umayyah, he went and bought the best, fastest camel available. He said, if something happens, I can escape. And he set out. Of all the criminals, only one did not go out. And that is Abu Lahab. Abu Lahab did not go. Why? Because he had some excuse and he sent out someone on behalf of him. This was someone who he had taken a loan, a debt from Abu Lahab. So Abu Lahab told him, if you go for my sake, the loan is cancelled, khalas. But all of them, the main criminals, they set out. How many were they? There were more than 1,200. There were more than 1,200. They set out in the direction of Badr. While they were going, remember now this side of the world, Abu Sufyan has escaped. He is taking another route. How many were they, by the way? We said 1,200. How many horses did they have? Huh? Horses, 100. Muslims had 2. How many camels did they have? Camels? More than 700. More than 700 camels. And they did not go out just them. They took their slaves with them, and the servants with them, and the women were called the qainat, the singers. They went out, all of them. While they were going to Badr, Abu Sufyan had sent another man to go and tell them, don't worry, we are safe. We changed our route and we are safe. Because the Prophet ﷺ was still camped at Badr, he didn't know that Abu Sufyan had changed his route. So the Muslims were waiting for Abu Sufyan, but Abu Sufyan was safe already with the caravan. On this side, the Quraysh are coming out. So Abu Sufyan sent another messenger. Go and tell the Quraysh they don't have to come out anymore. Well, the Quraysh were coming out, but when they were coming out, they said, oh, slow down. We are going out with our army. But once we cross Makkah, outside of Makkah, there's Banu Kinana, the tribe of Kinana. And from Banu Kinana, there's a specific tribe called Banu Bakr. And those who were in Quraysh, they always fought. They always fought. They said, so what if we go out and they attack us from behind or attack Makkah? While they were discussing this, Suraqa ibn Malik ibn Ju'shum. You remember Suraqa? Who's Suraqa? Remember the man when the Prophet ﷺ was doing his hijrah? The man who went out to try to capture the Prophet and Abu Bakr. And his horse kept being swollen to the ground. That man, Suraqa bin Malik. He appeared. And he was one of the chiefs of Banu Kinana. He said, Ya Ma'ashara Quraysh, don't worry. I will go and talk to Banu Kinana, you are safe. But little did they know that was not Suraqa. That was Iblis, the shaitan, in the face of Suraqa. And that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed us in the Quran. وَإِذْ زَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ أَعْمَالَهُمْ وَقَالَ لَا غَالِبَ لَكُمُ الْيَوْمَ مِنَ النَّاسِ وَإِنِّي جَارٌ لَكُمْ. When the shaitan beautified for them their affair of trying to go and kill the Muslims. And he told them, no one can defeat you, you're the great Quraysh. And I am taking the responsibility of your protection from Banu Kinana. You get it? So they said, okay, we are safe then. And he joined them. And he went out with them. And they went out, like we said, in their music and their dancing and their singing, with their pride. And that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs us. You know, the Battle of Badr is mainly discussed, like we said yesterday, in Surah Al-Anfal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ خَرَجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ بَطْرًا وَرِيَاءَ النَّاسِ. Do not be like those who left their homes to go to fight, to show off, full of arrogance, with the music and the women. وَيَسُدُّونَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, trying to prevent people from the religion of Allah. وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ خَرَجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ بَطْرًا وَرِيَاءَ النَّاسِ. Don't be like those ones. So when the news reached them from the messenger of Abu Sufyan that we are safe, Bani Zuhra, the tribe of Zuhra, from within the Quraysh, they said, we came out to defend our property is safe, we are going back. So they left around 200 or 300 men. Al-Abbas, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, and Aqil and Talib, the family of the Prophet ﷺ, Banu Hashim, when they wanted to go back, Abu Jahl said, no, you have to go with us. You have to go with us. So 200 left, so there remained an army of around 1,000. And Abu Jahl said to them, no, we are going to go until Badr, where they are. And we're going to camp there. And we're going to slaughter our camels and have a party. And the women will sing and beat the duf for us. And we're going to drink our alcohol, so all the Arabs know the Quraysh are still powerful. Bataran or ri'a an-nas, arrogance and to show off. So they did. They continued until Badr. But in Badr, they stayed at the other side of the valley, which is Udwatu al-Quswa. So you have the valley. They stayed in this side of the valley close to Makkah. The Muslims stayed in this side of the valley close to Medina. They could not even see each other yet. So they don't even know where the others are. Now we go back to the Muslims. The Prophet ﷺ, he went out with his army. When he reached Al-Udwat al-Dunya, Badr, he sent out 2 scouts again. Go look for the caravan. Those 2, they went and they came back with the news, sad news, that the caravan had passed through. They changed the route. And other news is that the Quraysh have set out and they are close to you. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ, he set out to this reconnaissance mission himself, him and Abu Bakr. They set out until they met a Bedouin man. And they said to him, do you have any news of the Quraysh? And he asked them, who are you? Because again, it's a very hostile time. They said, no, we're just asking. He said, no, I won't tell you until you tell me who you are, which tribe you're from. They said, we promise you, if you tell us, we'll tell you. So he said, I saw the Quraysh and they are camping at Udwat al-Quswa in the other side of Badr. And they have a huge army with them. So the Prophet ﷺ said, okay. So he said, no, you'll tell me who you are. They say, which tribe you're from? They said, Nahnu min ma. We are from water. That's our tribe. That is our tribe. And this is what we call tarwiyah. The Prophet ﷺ, he did not lie. He said, we are from what? Because they cannot tell him, I am Muhammad, the person who people are looking for. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the Prophet ﷺ, he returned back. Now they know that the Quraysh are camped just on the other side. And the Quraysh, they sent 2 scouts of theirs. But before we go to that, now the news is that what? The caravan is gone and there's an army.
Unplanned.
Unplanned. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions again in Surah Al-Anfal. كما أخرجك ربك من بيتك بالحق وإن فريقا من المؤمنون لكارهون يجادلونك في الحق بعدما تبين كأنهم يساقون إلى الموت وهم ينظرون وإذ يعدكم الله إحدى الطائفتين أنها لكم. Allah had promised you're going to meet one of them, either the caravan which you wanted or the army. وَتَوَدُّونَ, and you Muslims, you loved to have met the army, there's no fighting. To have met the caravan. أَنَّ غَيْرَ ذَاتِ الشَّوْكَةِ تَكُونُ لَكُمْ. But Allah had other plans for you. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, أَشِيرُ عَلَيَّ أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ. What do you want to do now? From the sign of a great leader, he consults even with those who are under him. And Allah had given him that command. وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. So Abu Bakr stood up and said, Ya Rasulullah, we are with you. You say fight, we fight. And the Prophet ﷺ made dua for him. And then Umar stood up and he said, Ya Rasulullah, they came to fight, we are ready to fight. And he sat down, and the Prophet ﷺ, he made dua for him. And then Al-Miqdad ibn Amr stood up. And I want to relate the words of Miqdad through the words of Abdullah bin Mas'ud. Abdullah bin Mas'ud, he said later on, of course, he said there was a position or a time in the life of Miqdad, I would have given anything in this world for me to be in that position. Imagine. He said that was the day when the Prophet ﷺ told the people, speak, consult, advise me. And Abu Bakr spoke, and then Umar spoke, and then Miqdad spoke. And he said, Ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah, Imdi lima arak Allah. Go to what Allah has told you to go to. فَنَحْنُ مَعَكَ, we will be with you. وَاللَّهِ لَا نَقُولُ لَكَ كَمَا قَالَتْ بَنُو إِسْرَائِيلَ لِمُوسَى. We'll never say to you what the Banu Israel said to their prophet Musa when they were told to go to Jerusalem and fight. And they said to Musa, اذهب أنت وربك فقاتلا إنها هنا قاعدون. They said to their prophet Musa alayhi salam, you go, you and your Lord to fight, we stay here. But rather we are going to say to you, O Prophet of Allah, ولكن اذهب أنت وربك فقاتلا إن معكما مقاتلون. Go, you and your Lord to fight, and we are fighting with you. وَالَّذِي بَعَثَكَ بِالْحَقِّ. I swear by the one who sent you by the truth. لَوْ سِرْتَ بِنَا إِلَى بَرْكِ الْغَمَاتِ وَهُوَ مَثَلٌ يُضْرَبِ طُولِ الْمَسَافَةِ or الْبُعْدِ. He said, I swear by the one in whose hand is your sword, the one who sent you by the truth. If you are to take us to the farthest point of this earth, we are going with you. I swear by the one who sent you by the truth, if you told us to cross the ocean, we'll cross the ocean with you. And the Prophet ﷺ, he made dua for him. And then he sat down. But Abu Bakr, Umar, Miqdad, they are all from the Muhajirun. They came to Medina with the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ said for the fourth time, Ashiru alayya ayyuha al-qawm. O ayyuhan nas, O people, consult with me, advise me, talk to me. And they were quiet. Until Sa'd ibn Mu'adh radiyallahu anhu, he stood up and he said, كَأَنَّكَ تُعْنِينَ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. Maybe you intend us, you want us to talk. Now the Ansar. Remember the Ansar? There were 200 and something men. The Ansar are the ones who called the Prophet ﷺ to Medina. We said yesterday, the Ansar, they did not give the promise they will fight with the Prophet ﷺ outside of Medina. They'll just protect him in Medina. Now they're outside. Now they're facing an enemy. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Ajal, yes, I intend you. You need to talk. Sa'd bin Mu'adh radiallahu anhu, he said, قَدْ آمَنَّا بِكَ. We believed in you. وَصَدَّقْنَاكَ. And we testified that you came with the truth. وَشَهِدْنَا أَنَّ مَا جِئْتَ بِهِ وَالْحَقِّ. We bear witness whatever you come with is the truth. وَأَعْطَيْنَاكَ عَلَى ذَلِكَ عُهُودَنَا وَمَوَاثِيقَنَا. We gave you our promise to follow the truth. عَلَى السَّمِعِ وَالطَّاعَةِ. To listen and to obey you as our leader. فَامْضِ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ لِمَا أَرَدْتَ فَنَحْنُ مَعَكَ. Go to wherever you want, we are with you. فَوَالَّذِي بَعَثَكَ بِالْحَقِّ. By the one who sent you with the truth. لو استعرضت علينا البحر. If you brought the ocean to us, we'll cross it for you. ما تخلف منا رجل واحد. None of us will stay back. وما نكره أن تلقى بنا عدونا غدا. إن لصبر في الحرب. إن لصبر في الحرب. We are people who are well trained, patient. We know how to fight. صدق في اللقاء. When we meet the enemy, we stand firm. ولعل الله يريك منا ما تقر به عينك. Maybe Allah will show you from our actions what will make you happy. فسر بنا على بركة الله. Take us by the blessings of Allah. When he said that, the Prophet ﷺ's face glowed with happiness. And he said to them, Seeru ala ismillahi azza wa jal. Go forth by the name of Allah. Wa abshiru. And have good news. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى قَدْ وَعَدَنِي إِحْدَى الطَّائِفَتَيْنِ. Allah promised me one of these two groups, the caravan or the army. Wallahi, I swear by Allah, لَكَأَنِّي الْآنَ أَنظُرُ إِلَى مَصَارِعَ الْقَوْمِ. I can see where those enemies, they are going to be killed, each of them. And so the army set forth and they camped. And where did they camp? We said the udwat dunya. But they made sure to get the main water source in Badr. Badr is a valley. It's a valley in a desert. Like we said yesterday, the most precious thing you want in a desert is what? It's water. So they moved close to the water. And all the other water holes or wells, they covered them. So the Quraysh of Makkah do not have any water. The Quraysh of Makkah did not have any water. Well, now they were doing this on this side. The Quraysh, they sent 2 scouts. Go look for water. And go look what Muhammad and his army, where they are. These 2, they were young boys or young men. They came looking for water. While they were doing that, Ali and Az-Zubair anhum and Miqdad, they caught them. And they brought them back to the Muslim camp while the Prophet ﷺ was praying. And they started hitting them. How many are you? Who's there? Where's Abu Sufyan? And they said, we don't know where Abu Sufyan is. Whenever they said that, they hit him more. And they would say, okay, Abu Jahl is there and Umayyah bin Khalaf in an army. When they said that, they will hit them more. Or they will leave them, afwan. One of those two. When the Prophet ﷺ finished praying, he said, leave them. When they tell you the truth, you beat them. When they lie to you, you leave them. Abu Sufyan is gone. But there's an army of Abu Jahl and Umayyah and. The Prophet ﷺ asked those young men, how many are they? They said, we don't know the exact number, it's a huge army. How many camels are there? Horses? They said, we don't know. So the Prophet ﷺ asked them, okay, how many camels do they slaughter every day to eat? They said they slaughter every day 10 camels. So the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Qawm Alf. They are 1,000 men. Because 100 people eat 1 camel. Exact number. The Prophet ﷺ was the greatest military leader. He said to his companions, they are 1,000 men. They are 1,000 men. Now we can imagine though, the Muslims are how many? 319. They're going to face an army of 1,000 men. Remember, the Muslims did not come out to fight. They came out to intercept a caravan. Those ones, they came in their full weapons, ammunition, everything. Remember, the Muslims, they only have 2 horses. They have 100 horses. Remember, the Muslims are the same Muslims still living in trauma. They have been tortured, persecuted, abused by those Quraysh for all those 13 years. They had some fear in them. They had some fear in them. What will happen? We'll discuss after the prayer, inshallah.